host Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California. And I am so happy to be here. I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Jen. How you doing, Jen?
I am doing awesome. Really super excited to be back. Spotlight's been gone for a bit.
It has been. I wish I could blame some kind of, I don't know, something that would take me off the hot seat, but I'd be lying.
It was the terrible mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, wasn't it? I know. I'm so sorry.
I didn't even realize that it was. That's what I was watching. So
well, there you go. You were so confused you didn't even realize.
yeah, I didn't even realize that was the mid-season finale or whatever until it was.
So we'll excuse you this time. We'll excuse you.
Yes,
it's all good.
So for people who are used to us on Get Vocal, we are on Get Vocal. We're simulcasting, but we are through StreamYard broadcasting through Facebook Live. So we're gonna be trying this out and see how that goes. So we would ask that most of our listeners would go through Facebook Live. We are broadcasting now. So joining us also as our guest co-host is the one and only Ryan Perez. How you doing, Ryan?
It's going all right. How's it going with you?
I'm good, man. It's a Friday. It's raining. I just had some soup. I'm good. Good.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So glad that you were here, and we're gonna chop it up with you. But our special guest, this young lady, is her brainchild is Black Nerd Swag. It's the one and only Lauren Hazel. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing, folks? Black Nerd Swag in the house from the Bronx, New York City.
Birthplace of hip hop?
Yeah, baby.
So I was fortunate enough to have an interview with you a couple of days ago, and you were gracious enough to not only agree to come on this show today, but you're also going to be on a Star Wars episode we're doing on Sunday. So thank you so much for that.
No problem. Star Wars, that's my thing. I like Star Wars, and why not? Why the hell not?
That's what I'm saying. That's what's up. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. Well, Black Nerd Swag is what? Actually, we are about 2 years old now. 2017. So yeah, it's about 2 years old. Our birthday's coming up in another week or so, officially. It started off as an idea I kind of had while at a New York City Comic-Con. I had an idea of doing something. I didn't know what I was going to do. And if you've never been to New York City Comic-Con, it is the biggest pop culture con on the East Coast. It happens in New York City at Jacob Javits Center in October. And when you go on the show floor, you see all the advertisements and banners for everybody. So Marvel, and that year, Loot Crate was really big. They had like almost a block activation to themselves. And I'm watching all this stuff go on, and I'm like, you know what? I should have something here, or we should have something here. And at that point, I went to a Black Heroes Matter panel for the first time, because the first time they had it that year that I was able. So I went and listened to what all the wonderful Black artists who are in the industry in some form or way had to say. I'm more of a solution-oriented person. I do not like to hear all the complaints and no one's presenting any solutions to a situation or anything what to do. It's more like, let's complain about it. Let's blame the people in front of us who came to see us about why Marvel canceled my comic book line for the 39th time, or why DC didn't do this, So I'm more like, well, there's a solution to it. There's enough of us here that we can have the stuff that we like, maybe in a box or something like that, and we can promote folks, and we can just really have a good time, celebrating all the things that make us, Black and nerdy, all that kind of good stuff. So I had the idea eventually for Black Nerd Swag, which was before Black Panther, way before Black Panther dropped, and been working on it since as one of my side projects. But I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own SaaS marketing agency that I also run full time, and I use my marketing sales skills to bring us Black Nerd Swag to the point where you did an interview, and now I'm here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Black Nerd Swag. I love it. So, we've often talked a lot about nerd culture we've talked on our shows about specifically Black nerd culture as well. And, I've talked about this many times. When I was coming up, I'll be 43 in a couple of weeks. The last thing you wanted to be called was a nerd. Like that was like fighting words. No one wanted to be called that or be associated with that. No women wanted you if you was a nerd. If you had that tag, it was just something you didn't want to be connected to. Now it seems like everyone claims it, right? Everyone claims it. People who I don't feel like are nerds, they'll have nerd tendencies. You know what I'm saying? They're like, they'll be like, oh, I'm a nerd too. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So what to you is exactly, what is a nerd to you?
What is a nerd to me? Well, in my opinion, because I think if you have a really deep interest in something, I think academics is usually, hey, you're a nerd if you're really good at academics. I was like, yeah, well, I actually was really good at most of the academics that I took place in. So usually nerds have always been more counterculture to a very certain extent. So like whether it's you were really into board games and board games wasn't hot in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. And so for you to like, hey, I like Dungeons and Dragons. Like if you mentioned in middle school that you like Dungeons and Dragons in the 90s or the early 2000s, yeah, you qualified. You qualified for nerd. You probably
I actually got beat up for that twice. So
yeah,
I'm right here with you.
What are the qualifications? You like Dungeons and Dragons? Were you sitting, were you going? Well, everybody was like, whatever the music. If everyone was into hip hop, and you're like, you know what? I don't really like rap music. Maybe I like more classical music, and that's my jam, or whatever. People look at you strange, or if you were in chamber music, people look. Those are the things that were traditionally. People really went, hard on that. You're a nerd this, or you dressed a certain way. It's like someone who's usually not of the greatest social influence is not someone you would necessarily follow in school. Like if you're nerds, and then there's other terms, nerds and geeks and stuff like that. But I also think that it depends on where you live. Like some people live in places where that terminology was used more loosely. Most people would just say you weren't cool. For a lot of times. So I grew up in the South Bronx. So in terms of you rarely heard nerd, you just weren't cool, or you were like, you were a nerd because of a particular, like you were good academically. But if you're coming from different areas, I think there's a little bit of difference of what people like to define. Like Steve Urkel, like you saw, like, does this person reflect more of what I see on TV of Steve Urkel? Versus what was cool at that time. So it's amazing that being a nerd or being able to claim it is now something that's cool and popular. Oh, I want to marry a nerd because the nerds are making money. I'm like, oh, the tech guys, we see a lot of that, guys that, you wouldn't touch who smell weird. People like women are clamoring over them. It's like, this guy stinks. It's like, so it's been interesting seeing all that kind of take place.
Okay, so we have two ladies on this panel, right? We have Jen, she claims, well, she is a nerd. She's a bona fide nerd. And of course, Lauren as well. So do women really like nerds? Like, I ain't talking about the guy that's made millions of dollars in the tech business. I'm talking about, a
regular dude, like,
yeah. Do women really like nerds? I don't think so.
Well, but the question I would throw back to you is, why don't you think that that's true?
Because I believe women like they like the guy who chews glass. They like the guy who, the rough and tumble guy, the hide my piece for me kind of guy.
Oh, you talking about a thug type of dude? There's some people who like that.
Not just a thug, but like, a rough and tumble type cat. A guy who, gets shit done. It depends on what he's into. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Ryan?
I'm a nerd, and I've never had a problem, in that department. I think that the women that I've dated always appreciated someone that was interested in something.
See, There you go, Ryan. That's I was just going to say, so much of this is about relatability, because when you share commonality, when you have experiences that intersect, when you are able to share something that is unique and different, it makes you more attractive. So the answer is absolutely. Nerd guys are awesome because they have an inside to the same kind of thing that we were just talking about with counterculture, with something unique that's only strikes a chord with somebody who is of similar with similar interests. So I totally disagree. It's not all about chewing glass.
Okay, all right.
Here's the
What says
curious-
if he's not creepy, possessive, dark side of the internet? Interesting. All right. And then she says, is he a brony or just heavily into comic books? I
Okay,
think,
that's valid.
I think
That's
we
valid.
can agree that bronies probably dry up most women. I think so. I don't want to speak for women, but okay.
So there's a difference,
There's-
I think, between being nerdy and being into a kind of niche culture, which doesn't really reflect the overall sense of what I assume the connotation of the word nerd is, right? Because there's the academic side, there's the being into stuff that maybe most people aren't into, but the part of being nerdy, I think, that is most attractive, at least to me, is that it gives you something both to, like I said, have in common, but also it gives you a chance to sort of branch out into different areas that you've never been to, that kind of stuff. It's not about a specific niche culture, and bronies are a specific niche culture. That's just, I mean, that's a little bit like saying, would you date a stamp collector? And then there's this one guy whose house is made of stamps. So no, you probably don't want to date that guy. But would you date a stamp collector? Yeah, hey, that's could be cool.
Okay.
I mean, there's levels.
There is the guy who.
If you're showing that you're crazy.
Well, I mean,
then,
you could
yeah.
be crazy. You could,
Yeah.
The guy who chews glass
Oh,
is
that's
crazy
so
too.
crazy.
The
that's
guy
a
who
little
chews
unattractive.
the guy who chews glass can be crazy too. There's the guy that you might settle down with, but then there's the guy that you are passionate about. Are women really passionate about nerds though? Like the guy that the guy that you have the little dreams about at night, he's never a nerd, right?
Well, it depends on the actual woman, because if the woman is really socially awkward and she's a nerd, or she identifies as a geek or whatever, because I can veer between the two, so it don't matter. So I mean, if she's really heavily into Star Wars and she meets this one guy who's single who's also into Star Wars, to the fact that she even he cosplays, that might work. It might look crazy to other people because, like, why the fuck do you dress up like you're an Imperial soldier or some shit like that? But for those two, it works because she dreams of the guy who she can share this interest with, who won't think that she's completely nuts or weird. So she goes for that type of guy, and maybe she finds him and stuff like that. Because funny enough, in the Star Wars universe of fandom, which should be very loud and proud, I've seen people hook up together and get married and have babies real quick when they find out that, hey, I'm single, you're single, I like Chewbacca, I like this, and like within a year, married. Next year, a baby.
It happens in the Harry Potter fandom all the time. Oh my God. There are, and see, this is what I mean by the niche, a niche culture, right? It's really easy, I think, to confuse the two. It's easy to think that people who are into a specific thing and everybody else maybe isn't as into it, that kind of transfers to being nerdy. But I tend to think of being nerdy as this overall quality of being interested in things that maybe most people aren't interested in. And on some level, it does kind of feel a little bit academic, but it has nothing to do with what you look like. It really doesn't. It's not about how you look. It's absolutely about what is between your ears.
Now, we had a question from Stephanie, wants to know, are furry geeks nerds or just freaks? I would say they're fetishists. So they have like a
guys who dress up in a room who dress up as furries in order to have sex.
Yeah, that's like a fetish.
That's a whole.
Yeah, that's a fetish. Kira says, I I do have a crush on a few nerds. So I don't know. It depends on like I don't know, man. I feel like I remember we did this show about cosplayers, right? And we had like about 7 women who were cosplayers on this panel, and I asked them straight up, when you go to these conventions and stuff like that, do you ever meet guys or whatever? And their answer was, no, I just want to go and dress up. Right. And then I asked a bunch of guys that question, who were nerdy guys who go to that. And they were like, their whole thing was, oh man, that'd be great to meet somebody at it. So it seemed like there was a disconnect. It seemed like women wasn't really trying to pull from that,
I think that has to do with the culture of cosplay in general, because women who do cosplay, especially as certain characters, they tend to get assaulted and accosted by a lot of men at these different cosplayers. At these different conventions, and it's happened even after the convention. People have been followed, so I think women tend to take when a guy's interested, they're weighing their safety and how this person is perceiving. So they're like, because they're attracting everybody, especially if they're considered a very traditionally beautiful woman, and then now she's in this particular cosplay and she looks like this. These guys kind of have these fantasies that she's always available. So they're kind of they have to put that extra protection of a filter, like, okay, I'm here to do what I like to do or love to do and compete or whatever. But at the same time, when I'm being approached by different men, I have to kind of see what's happening. Because sometimes I've seen cosplayers, like the guy grabbed her ass while she was adjusting like her front for a picture and shit. I think it has to do a little bit of safety, because traditionally what's been happening, I think they just have to have an extra safety lens. So when you ask them, hey, would you go there and find a boyfriend? Hell no, because I keep getting grabbed or guys trying to take advantage of me.
That wasn't the vibe I got. The vibe I got was more like, those guys. Like that's what the kind of vibe I got. They didn't mention nothing about no safety.
Because it's also about a physical attraction. Like if you're an ugly man, you're an ugly man, whether you're a nerd, freak, geek, mass murderer, whatever. You're just ugly. So when you're
but also though,
awkward approach you, and you.
But also too, it's the way you carry yourself as well. So if you carry yourself in a nerdly manner, it's not. What I'm saying is it really attractive to most women?
Have you been to some conventions?
Dude, Comic-Con is filled with so many people hook up at Comic-Con. It's not even funny.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, it's a thing. It's not even a questionable thing. It's just a thing.
Heard of geek dating? I don't know. They used to go to the cons. I know they go to a few, and they used to set people up.
Okay, let me ask this question, because you are Black Nerd Swag. Is there a difference in the Black nerd community as far as the way that, let's say, Black guys are seen who are nerds? I want to ask versus like how white guys who are nerds are seen. Let me see.
Wow, white guys. Let me see. I've been looking at no white nerds, so
I'm just saying overall though.
Actualize, so you ask the wrong lady.
The way they're seen though.
It depends who decides to say, hey, I'm a nerd or I'm into whatever, because that's more of a relatively new phenomenon, so to speak, that people are actively saying in particularly Black community, because that you always seeing kind of the black sheep of the family quite a bit. So now people are kind of coming out a little bit more that, hey, I'm really into this and that's my thing, but before it wasn't. So looking at that women see them differently. I mean, I'm in groups where women want to date that kind of guy, but there's always something extra to him that is just ain't attractive, whether it's coming from, he has the position, well, if a woman doesn't do this, I'm not going to date her, or, just guys who are not, in general, whether they're Black or white, they're just not they don't have attractive qualities to them personally because of the way they like to speak to people, like they, and in the way they treat people, which is a big deal. I mean, but there's a lot of thirsty Black nerd ladies who are looking for their Black nerd counterpart out there. I can tell you that.
Really?
So,
where are these women at?
A lot of them.
You know what? Let's do this.
There's a whole lot of them.
If you can identify 4 of them, I would love to interview them, because I never see those. I've never seen those women.
Oh, they're around, because there's a whole bunch of Black nerd men that got a whole bunch of little babies. So it's not like procreation is not happening. It's happening. Where the relationships stay together.
I never see that represented anywhere. So I'd love to see this because I don't see that. You know,
Wow.
You ain't in the right places because the women ain't talking to you. There's a whole lot of guys who kind of miss their shot because there are women like, oh wow, like I've been in groups with women's groups where there is
oh,
I'm reading the comment. It took me out. All I saw was soft for same stuff with sex, whatever. It took me out. Yeah, but they were talking about these guys who had joined a group, and they're like, "Oh, he looks good." He likes this. Oh wow. I have a crush on him, and like she was trying to get advice because she was trying to get the courage to actually kind of DM him and try to shoot her shot. Ask him out and stuff. So there's a whole lot of that goes on. Is usually the guy says something really dumb. It's like, oh fuck, really. That's the kind of thing.
Donald Glover. She says Donald Glover said black women don't want him, or didn't want it.
Didn't want him. Well, I think Donald didn't go. He was I believe he's definition of a really nerdy geek guy, but he came up in an interesting family as well. But
oh no, you're good, Kira.
There people who went he said that, and he said some other shit about black women. And there were people who went to school with him who were airing his ass out, like who were detailing all kinds of stuff. But like I said, it wasn't cool to be a black nerd, to be the geek or whatever in a black community. That just wasn't it. And he happened to come in that time where it wasn't popping. Right. Now, if he was that guy popping now, different story. And then let's be clear: if you seen him when he was younger, he wasn't cute. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people have to grow into their cuteness with the help of a whole lot of plastic surgery and moisturizer and something called deodorant.
Wow, that's funny. All right, so
deodorant is an issue at times, so
you looked like you were really disturbed there. No, it wasn't. It was funny. No, we were good, Kira. We're good, Kira. All right, so let's get to Black Nerd Swag. We kind of went off a little bit.
It's your fault. You'll be asking these questions.
I want to get to the meat and bones.
I want
to get to the meat and bones of it. Okay, so
every book I know, there's the women into nerds and all this shit, and I'm telling you, there are groups of women who are looking, who would grab you if you present yourself. Most of the time, you guys fuck up in those damn groups. If girl be into you, oh goodness, you don't know shit. You don't know there's two girls who they're just trying to get the courage to approach you, and then you say something really damn dumb and ruin it. Because women, we're like, we're very like, if you say what, it's like we're very different creatures. You just like, you could throw us off with just the wrong word at the wrong moment.
You know what? Just as a side note, if you can find me 4 of these black women that you're talking about that were willing to come do the show, I would gladly interview them and get their thoughts on it. So that'll be
well, look, like I said, there's a lot of appropriation. There's a lot of babies being made even as we speak. So
okay, there's a lot of I want to see that. I want to see that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that, but I don't hang out in those circles, so maybe that's what it is.
You don't hang out, so you don't know.
So, all right. So, Black Nerd Swag. Okay. So, how did you come up with the title, and also, when you say Black Nerd Swag, kind of give us an idea of what you exactly mean by that.
Okay, so the title, I wanted to be very specific, because I think, like, I'm proud to be black. I am black. I have no issue with admitting that. There's a lot of people who do. I think in particularly African American or black culture in general, there is an issue about presenting yourself as being black, and that this is one facet that you're okay. I'm going to identify as this thing and move on, because people are scared of one, blowback from other folks and all that other stuff. So I wanted to be very clear what this was actually about. This is about that. We love all kinds of other shit, but this is Black Nerd Swag, and understand that this is what it is, and we'll defend it. So I wanted to make sure that was really clear. Because initially, when I named it Black Nerd Swag and I started emailing some folks about it, I got a lot of interesting hate mail
Really?
from folks.
Like, what kind of
Yeah,
things would
I
they
got
say?
I got hate mail from other Black folks about me calling it Black Nerd Swag who were in their groups.
Like, what would they? Why they say? What did they say they didn't like about it?
They didn't like that I was using the word black, and they felt exclusionary. I was like, because they look, there's a lot of Black nerds that like be at one point. If you were a nerd in a I guess a regular, let's say, Black school, you're not uncool, so therefore you're trying to be white.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of cases, if you grew up in lower income schools where maybe your thing was you talk properly and whatever, you were considered being white.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of nerds, men and women, have this complex in their head by being educated, being really whatever, that you're somehow being too white. And like you lose your blackness and all that. So there's a whole lot of psychological stuff that goes on in there. So I think what happened with them is they were projecting that onto Black Nerd Swag, aka me. And I'm like, I don't really give a damn if you like it or not. You know, it's what it is. You know, because I don't care about your projections of how you feel about yourself because of XYZ happening to you. So if you are feeling a ways about the name and you happen to be Black, then that should tell you that maybe you need to look over how you think about yourself. Why does saying anything Black is so triggering? You know, it doesn't mean it's going to be less good. It's going to be in ghetto. Like, why is this giving you this connotation? And really think about that. And if you're white and you have an issue with me saying Black Nerd Swag, then why is this bother you so much? You don't have to go to the Facebook page. You don't have to be on the email list. You don't have to buy anything we're selling if we're selling anything or promoting. Why does it bother you so much? Why does you have to say something nasty? That's what people really need to be thinking about and pausing about and considering.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I kept the name because I was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be very specific, and that's what I wanted. And I knew that it was going to make people think, because there are Black nerds who are like, you know what, I'm a nerd and it's okay that I'm a Black nerd. That's not two opposite things. And for a long time, for a lot of us, it was two opposite things. You go home to be Black with your family, but you could be a nerd in this little space, maybe Comic-Con, because there are Black nerds who were going to Comic-Con and hiding it from their families that they were going into those weird conventions and shit like that. So these two things are together. They're not necessarily separate and apart, that you have to be ashamed of being a nerd on one side or ashamed to be Black on the other side. I think that's pretty stupid. So I wanted to, like, you know what? This is what it is. You can be both. You are both, and that's a beautiful thing.
Now, do you take anybody who claims that they're a nerd? Or do you have to have some sort of nerd credentials?
Nerd credentials? I don't credential nobody. If I'm selling a t-shirt, I'm selling a t-shirt, baby. Like, because there's Marvel. When you go to buy anything Marvel, when you go buy that movie ticket and you're 40-something years old going to see the Black Widow movie, do they ask you if you're a nerd or not? No, they just fucking take your money.
Well, that's different though. Don't show up. That's different. In some of these groups, they are very hardcore about people really fitting.
I know.
And
I ain't in them groups, so I don't give a shit.
But like she's just saying nerd. When you're a nerd, when you're a geek, you're interested in the subject. When you're a nerd, you're a practitioner of the subject. Like you're integrated. It's your everyday life. So nerd groups, because I'm a part of a few of them, are very specific on the topic. You know what I mean? So if you are a Star Wars fan, then you got to be a legit Star Wars fan. You can't be someone that just watched the last Star Wars and then come into the group and say you're a Star Wars fan.
That's it.
Because, you know what I mean? Like you're gone. So like it just, there's nerds everywhere. You could be nerds about cars. You could be nerds about, we're like, I think Kente, you and I and Jen, maybe we're live stream nerds, right? Like, because we know a lot about it. We embrace ourselves in the culture. But if, some Johnny come lately comes on and says, I'm a live streamer, and they don't know nothing about it, we might cut them up. But that's the idea, is that nerd, you know what I mean? Like, be like, hey. But, the thing is, like, this is what it sounds like to me. It's like, it's just nerds. Like, come as you are, and people are not just going to volunteer and be like, hey, I'm a nerd. You know?
Right.
No, no, I feel that. I mean, because essentially it was, or it will be again, a subscription box, and I'm like, there's different facets. Like, what the hell do you put in a box like that? And there are different subscription box models. And my background is marketing and sales, that sort of thing. So I'm like, there's a whole lot of black folks who are nerds, and they're really big into manga, and there's others who are really big into anime, and you got folks who are just Marvel, DC, or indie, whatever indie means at that point, or this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you know what? What happens if there was a box where I can have those things in there for those different folks? Like, if you are into anime, then I'm gonna try to find everybody who does the kind of anime that you want and have it in one box 1 month. And then the next month we're gonna do a Marvel thing. And you know what? Because we're gonna grab all the black characters I can, or all the different black creators who are in these spaces that people don't really know about, who are creating manga or are working on anime projects, and have it in a place where it's accessible. So for that month, you can really obsess over the thing that you really love, you know? So that was part of it too, about what we were going to have in the box, what that box was going to represent. And, that's part of it. Because if I want to stick to anime, I can jump into anime and be in there all day long, you know, if that's what they wanted. But the fact that I'm like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I would love that we can get our Lucasfilm partnership straightened out and shit, that we can have a whole box and dedicated to every single black character, not many, that actually showed up in a damn Star Wars movie or somewhere in the franchise, or celebrate the fact. I mean, a lot of people know that for the first time ever, and I think I'm correct in this, we actually have a black Star Wars writer who wrote a book. We also know that I think one of the women on the Star Wars story group is black, I believe. I believe she's still on there. I know that recently we had someone who is Native American and African American or something like that who came out with a Star Wars book, like shit like that. So if you're a Star Wars fan and you're black, you would love to know that information.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the first person to rock a purple lightsaber was black.
Yeah, and he's the one who gave the idea.
Right. Right. Okay, so on December 13th, you have an event. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, so we are having a online pop summit. So that's what Kente had interviewed for. So basically, instead of having a con that you go to, because I know folks love going to cons and shit, I do not have the patience for putting that shit together. So I decided I'll stick on an online medium. So it is an event in which you can purchase a ticket for $10, and you can go on and hear folks like Kente talk about what they do, like groups that they manage. Because we're featuring some black nerd groups from Facebook, because you guys get no love. We have a black game designer, hip hop game designer on there. We have a black artist in Japan that has done a video for us specifically. He made a video for us, as well as we did an interview with him and his hedgehog. Yes, he does have a hedgehog. And it's a great place for folks to discover new people. We have two black brothers. Actually, they're friends, but I always call them the Black Brothers, who created a comic book called Crackhead Corey, and they are featured actually in there. So why the hell not? Sort of thing. And we have a few other people coming. I think we have a filmmaker that's gonna, if we get the schedule right, jump in it as well. We were supposed to have one of the Star Wars writers do an interview, but apparently memo got out to the wrong people at Lucasfilms, and they told us no, because the book they wrote is in relation to the movie that's coming, and they didn't want no fuck ups. So that's something I'll probably add on after it's safe, because I got lectured about that shit by Star Wars lawyers. But anyway, that's happening. That will be released on December the 13th. So if you want to know more about when that's coming, when tickets can go on sale, you go to our Facebook page, Black Nerd Swag, comment on our posts, or send us a message and give us your email, your telephone number, because that's how we're selling and sending out the tickets to that event.
All right. And explain how the online con works, because I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it before, so this is a great. Yeah, I was like, well, the space I come from, having those types of online events is relatively common. So I said, you know what, let me try to have that in kind of the pop culture, nerdy, geek culture space and see, what happens, because we're not going to do like a live con, right? I don't mind going to cons, being on panels occasionally maybe, but I'm not planning one out. That's a hell of a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that.
Right.
And I got to think that, we're a bootstrapped company. Like I finance that I finance Black Lives Matter, right? And I have people I have to pay. So what was more available, what was affordable ticket price wise? I'm like, $10 is not a lot. It's enough for us that we get enough people to do what we need to do, for us to keep doing it. Plus, it allows me the freedom of picking and asking the people that I want to ask. So I've asked folks who worked for Marvel or work for Marvel, who work for Image, comic book writers. I've asked people who are doing films. I've asked people who are on TV shows, because I can ask who I want. And then because it's an online event, I can have them, they can say whatever the hell they want versus, oh shit, I'm at the Marvel panel, I can't say this thing or else some shit might happen and I might lose my contract, right? They could be, it's a form in which they could be a lot freer than they normally would be able to be free. I think if everything works out, we might have one of the actresses from Black Lightning do an interview for us as well. So it allows more freedom for us to choose who we want, and then they say yes or no. It allows for us to keep the ticket price within a certain range for people, so it's not backbreaking. And two, it allows us to let the people who buy tickets to actually keep the recordings. Versus you go to a con, unless they're live streaming and some of the stuff is on YouTube, you don't get a chance to see everything. Mm-hmm. The way this is structured is because you have access to every single interview or presentation that's being done, you can watch it whenever you want to watch it.
Nice.
So you can watch these two things and not worry about, oh shit, I'm going to miss the guy who's talking about how he started his webcomic because I really want to do a webcomic. So that's all together. And I considered that because I wanted people to have the full experience as well. Not only folks who just love to be in those mediums, but even folks who, there's a lot of creators who they go to cons to learn something. They want to learn how do you do something or how do you learn about the business. Like I'm going to have a section there where I'm going to be talking about the business side of kind of entertainment in terms of how to monetize when you're bootstrapped. Like I get to feature the Black groups on Facebook. Like I haven't seen that at a con yet. So I wanted to have that where, hey, this Black group is there. They exist. You guys can go there because you got to search for them. You could probably find your artist there or whatever there. Or this group exists and they talk about nothing but anime. And if you're looking for that, you can find some folks there. Like I wanted to do it that way because at a big con like New York Comic Con, you have to bid to try to get in there. For a lot of the big cons, if you're just starting or new, you don't have really a chance to get your word out there or show people that you got something. Like, if you have a Kickstarter and you're trying to, beef up your Kickstarter, or you have something that you've been working on for 25 years and it's all booked and no one knows about you, this is an opportunity for you to kind of present yourself and let people know that, hey, I exist. This is my thing. And if you want to check it out, go here. Plus we have a lot of fun. I like to make jokes. I like to bring the smoke. At this event, we're actually going to be talking about cryptocurrency and pop culture. We have a panel already done, the Black experts and influencers in crypto culture. I have the folks from Guapcoin, that's been in the news, Essence and everyone else. They're on the panel too. So all the other stuff that, hey, comics and crypto, what the hell? Like, it's there.
Wow. So I mean, you're definitely going to get a lot of bang for your buck on the 13th.
Yeah. I had to wrestle some people, and if it wasn't for that fucking email that went out, we would have had our damn Star Wars author in there too.
Oh wow!
They were fast from cease and desist. Trust me.
Wow. So it's a week from today. What time will it start?
A week for today. Tickets will start to go on sale. Like they'll have access to it. Let's see, but probably for 8 a.m. I'll start releasing access to it. So they'll have access to it, passwords, all that, so you can go in and start consuming and hopefully enjoying what's going on in there.
All right. So let me ask the people in the chat room, does this sound like an event? If press 1 in the chat, if this sounds like an event you guys would like to attend. Put one in the chat. Should I put the Jeopardy music on or? All right, Kira.
Oh, that's the wrong phone.
All right, Kira was first, so I will personally get her a ticket because she was first. So you will be able to check out this event, Kira. So I'll buy the ticket and you can check it out. So
Good job, Kira.
Kira, yes, Kira is our wiener. So there you go.
Yes.
So I think there's a little delay too. So
Probably so, actually.
right. So, and we'll also put in the show notes how you can actually participate in this event. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and one of the reasons why Ryan is here, is what we want to talk about is something that me and you talked about in our interview, and how adding Black to the name of your social media group or page or something may not always be the best thing.
Yeah.
And I want you to kind of talk about that, and then it'll lead to a broader conversation.
Okay. So this has to do. I'll bring in some context. So I've been marketing. I've been a digital direct marketer in sales for over 10 years, like 12 years now. Okay. And Facebook is one of the platforms when they first released ads that I've been in quite heavily. So I understand a lot about how it works, its ad platforms, and all the changes that happen. And if you were in a Black group that has Black something or that is affiliated heavily with that kind of stuff, you will notice, especially that sometimes your group does not pop up or you do not get notifications. Now, generally people say, well, yeah, in other groups, yes. But what's been happening is Facebook has been taking down a lot of the Black groups, whether it's political or non-political. The algorithm has been groups have been disappearing. And what people have suspected, but I have confirmed, is that if you are in these groups and you type certain things inside of them or certain things are present, the Facebook, I will say, algorithm does everything possible to make sure your stuff looks like it doesn't exist. So I am very concerned for a lot of the Black groups that are around, whether they're into cosplay or anime or those folks who have professional groups on there where it's all Black filmmakers and sci-fi. I'm concerned that maybe one day people will log in and not see their group present anymore, or when they're attempting to have events or show support, they won't be able to actually do it in their group, and everything else inside the group will disappear. And when they attempt to appeal Facebook to get a reason why, when Facebook decides to respond, they're going to give you a very canned, well, your group violated this BS thing response. So what I was saying, if your group disappears, how are you going to communicate with everybody who was in that group, especially if you have a very large group? If you don't have anybody's contact information, if you don't have their email, you don't have their numbers, and you had a large group, and let's say you were having a charity event, or somebody had a podcast and they're trying to, I tell you what happened in one group. One group I think has over 4,000 members. She was trying to get on the panel for CS, Southwest, South by Southwest, and she needed the group to vote in order to have hers possibly, approved. But no matter, she posted a few times, had it pinned, and the folks in her group are relatively active. But at that point, we weren't even seeing anything from the group. At one point, I couldn't find the group. And it wasn't until like weeks later that the group all of a sudden kind of appeared after a post happened. And she was saying, hey guys, why didn't you guys support me? And she got upset. And, a lot of people felt bad because they were going to support her, but it's like the damn group disappeared. Like nothing. It was gone. So that's happening more often than not. And I have a concern because a lot of our folks are not marketers and they're not into, okay, this is what you got to do to market your group and do all that stuff, because they don't have that knowledge. They could be in real danger of that happening. And for some groups, you guys have been around for 7 years, 10 years, and such, and it'd be a waste to have a lot of those good connections, a lot of those groups kind of disappear and no one be able to communicate. Like there's artwork in certain groups of people doing projects or like people got married and they're sharing and like all kinds of really positive stuff that's happening in these groups, and it's like no one is seeing it or it's kind of disappearing. So I think we were talking about kind of insulating yourself from that kind of stuff that's been occurring lately.
Can
go ahead.
Can I interject something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that I think that it's a really smart idea right now. If you are in any kind of group that aggregates content on Facebook, to start thinking about taking it off Facebook. And I don't mean this in a way that is completely pulls Facebook out of the loop, because let's face it, it's daily behavior for people. So that's fine. But I think if you want to keep people connected, the only way to ensure that this data is going to stay with you and that you're going to be able to collect people as a group is to basically pull it off of Facebook, because Facebook will never allow you to pull their content, their data, their user member sets out of the system. that would defeat the purpose of Facebook. But there's a bunch of really simple ways to pull people off of Facebook, get them onto, a hard-coded site, real simple, and that way you always have that. And I have to say, one of the things that I am most concerned about is that in groups, when people are sharing things that they haven't shared to their own personal lines, to other information spots, that if those groups come down, all the associated content comes down with it. So anything that you've saved in an attachment, anything that you've saved in the file section, all that stuff disappears as well. And it's big. It's not a small amount of data. It's a really big piece. Yeah. So I just got to give you total props for that. Is one thing that is, it really actually worries me, because we have so much interconnectivity and we have no way to archive that at all.
Maybe Ryan or Lauren can speak to what's a shadow ban?
Well, a shadow ban is sorry, I don't if I just jumped in.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, a shadow ban is when Facebook decides to, or I guess any social media decides to limit your reach, because when you use certain keywords and you use certain hashtags, it gives you a certain amount of reach. When they feel that you're gaming the system, or if your post is deemed to be something that does not go along with their community guidelines, then they will limit the reach. Because the problem is that they want to advertise, and if you're using it to gain advertisement, they don't like that. It has to, the post itself has to be something that can engage the community, and the post also cannot be offensive to other members of the community. So yeah, you'll be shadow banned. I've been shadow banned a few times. Facebook hasn't I've kept my content the same, but sometimes there's certain things, certain keywords that just trigger an AI technology that they use to run Facebook, and they'll just limit that reach, and in hopes that you get the message, not to post the same stuff. The other thing too is that people are copying other people's content, recirculating memes.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
They're trying to get in the motion now on having new content, original content on each person's, and they just Instagram just rolled out a new, like, an update to their algorithm. If they now people have the option to have a business account or a creator's account, in hopes that people start creating and uploading to their IGTV and whatnot, because they want to replace YouTube and whatnot. But again, if they're going to be replacing these like something like YouTube, they have to be compliant, and it has to be friendly, and it can't be racist, or a lot of people now are being tagged, like a lot of Instagram influencers are being tagged because they're showing the booty, and then they get their they limit their reach, and you could be in a thong or whatever, or just showing your boobs like this. Women that are doing that, or like, for example, Jason Derulo or Derulo,
yeah.
they took down his photo because he was, he was pretty much in underwear and showing his slong through the underwear, and Facebook took that photo down. So
thank God they took that down because nobody wants to see that.
exactly. But that's they're trying to make it all inclusive, because I think that especially the U.S. government, a lot of them are hammering down on when it comes to
they got in trouble.
Right, they're starting to hammer down on these bigger social media networks. So, yeah, shadow banning can hurt you.
Do you know when you're shadow banned? Do they tell you you've been shadow banned?
You know.
Oh,
they'll tell you shit. You'll find out if you want it. You're gonna know. You're gonna know, baby.
Yeah.
When it happens, you won't know.
Oh, okay. I mean,
yeah,
very good at showing you that.
Yeah, because you have, like, for example, I just got shadow banned, so I know on one of my accounts. So, like, I get like hundreds of thousands of impressions on one video, and then all of a sudden it's like 900. So you know that you're not coming up for any of the hashtags that you're showing up for. So, yeah, they tend to do that to you, and you can't build a business model on that. So you have to keep your stuff PG, and you have to keep on. Like, I encourage people, read the terms and conditions, read the community guidelines. Don't think that just because Little Duval shared someone getting his ass whooped, that you recircle that video, that you're not going to be flagged, because people's accounts get flagged for violence now. You have to be careful.
Man,
yeah,
I gotta start reading now.
Don't write something stupid like you can't write.
No, dude. I think we lost it for a second.
Yeah.
There we go. I thought they shadow banned you. Now what were you? Yeah, you're good now. Now, what were you gonna say?
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, Lauren, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yeah, for a second I was like, "Oh shit!"
Now you started to say.
Y'all good?
Yeah, we're good. Just waiting on you. What were you gonna say? Were you gonna say something?
I was reading the comment. I think Stephanie made something like when Copa's coming. And that's where it started getting a little fun.
Yeah.
But Copa, that's something to talk about.
Well, let's talk about it. The floor is yours.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So, like the YouTubers, I mean, we're talking about Facebook. That operate on YouTube as well as on Facebook a bit, and a lot of people are losing their crap because of YouTube's new.
Uh-oh.
We spinning while we spinning.
All right, you're good now.
Yeah.
You're good now.
Seems
okay, we good now?
Yes. Yeah, you're good. You gotta love live radio.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Live radio and video. Yeah. Now you were saying you're good. Go ahead. Talk.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah,
I was good. Okay, cool. I'm making sure because sometimes I was good, and then like Ryan would like disappear, start spinning.
No.
You're looking like, what the hell's going on? Why is he spinning? Because you mentioned Facebook and we streaming on Facebook.
I know, right? They're like, oh, what'd you say?
What? The strings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But can I say something on COPPA?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, COPPA is COPPA is it's a law that was passed in the U.S. Senate, I believe, that pretty much is in protection of children. So if you're 13 years old or younger, they don't want, because what's happening is that children are being targeted, sex trafficking and whatnot. They're being targeted through these YouTube channels, and their data is being put there, and their information is being put there. When they're talking to people and stuff. So what COPPA is pretty much saying is that you have to label your videos as for kids or not for kids. If it's not for kids, it doesn't get shown. If it's for kids, then then kids cannot comment. And and it's like they remove the comments, and there's some other descriptions. If you do not properly label your videos, then the FTC will come in and scrape all the videos and pretty much fine you like thousands of dollars for not doing that, because again, it's in protection of children, and that's why COPPA is being passed. But again, it's hurting a lot of people, because there's a lot of content that's out there for kids that people have created for kids, and now it's being flagged that it's not for kids. And it's just the algorithms that may get it wrong or right. And if you're not in total compliance, YouTube will, because they don't want to be fined, right? And the thing is that COPPA
Again.
yeah, because COPPA is now it's in direct relation to the content creator. So if you do not comply, you are getting fined, not YouTube. Right. So YouTube is doing their best in trying to flag each video, but they're also deleting content. They're deleting content, and they're going to be deleting accounts. And you may have worked all your years to build up a YouTube account, and then to find out that it's no longer in existence because you're not following the COPPA law. So yeah, it's getting serious out in these streets.
Wow. See, and that's exactly what I was talking about when I was saying that you almost have to have some kind of backup system yourself, whether it's, and I mean, for the cost of a website. Now, I mean, I'm a designer, so I like kind of get into this stuff, but for the cost of a website, you could literally save yourself, 5 years of your own creation going down. And I know so many people who do not archive their information. They make final copies, they upload it, and then they don't keep actual copies. And because they think that it's safe online, it just isn't. It absolutely isn't. So this stuff is really important.
Right. And like I have to add too is that I was just yesterday talking to Kente that I bought my own, I bought rights to upload my to CDN, pretty much like a server space to upload my videos and my photos. And now I can monetize on my videos and photos. I can pretty much create my own YouTube and stream my own content, because I've been I've been with YouTube since 2009. I've accumulated more than 4.1 million views, and they just demonetized my stuff last year for no reason. And I had to delete all my videos, and then I re-uploaded new videos that did get some hits and stuff like that. And then they decided, they said you need 4,000 hours when I already worked so hard to get the partnership in 2009, and then they keep on changing the rules. And now now I'm back to not being monetized, and it took me a whole year, and I lost my 4,000 hours of watch time. So I got fed up, and I just pretty much bought my own server space so I could put up my own videos, because you know what? I'll probably get more reach because of my SEO skills and stuff like that. And the other thing too that I'm announcing today is that Hustle Zone TV, which is my company, we bought our own social media network. So social.hustlezone.com. And that is like, just to take it off, because the other thing that happened to me was that I was planning to create a device that would be in your home that you could call community and talk to people. I was working on that project last year. I had created the name, created the prototypes in about May. In August, Facebook announced Portal. And Portal, you've probably seen the commercials for it. Portal is what I named my system.
Oh, no way.
Yes. And my CTO, who's, he is in 60 years old, and he's been in the game for a long time, warned us about Facebook and warned us about our privacy, but we still use WhatsApp. And this is right around the time that the guy from WhatsApp stepped down. So we were already in knowing that, because of all these privacy issues, that maybe we need to wean off of Facebook. And it was too late. They came out with Portal out of nowhere. And I came up with that systematically, came up with the name, came up with the device. I had the pictures. I had it time-stamped, all that stuff. and the idea is completely theirs. And people are like, oh, that, how do you know? It's not serendipity. Like, it's not just that two people came up with the same idea. Portal was very specific. I had a very specific reason why I named it that, but I can't go after them and name it. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, actually not what I'm saying, but Jen has said it. It's like you have to have a backup plan, because if you're uploading, once you upload your data to a centralized system like Facebook or YouTube, you no longer own your content.
That's right.
And then they sell that content. They're making money off of it, and that's your hard-earned. Any photo, any picture. So yeah, I think the next shift is the next shift. Oh, I heard my Kermit the Frog voice. Oh, I heard my. Yeah,
and that doesn't mean by any means, as we're talking about nerd culture, right? This is, audiences will flock to where content is. So There is absolutely zero reason that you cannot set up your own network and have people basically grab an audience for yourself. And it also doesn't mean that you have to abandon social media completely. What it means is that you have to strategically use social media as a method by which to drive traffic to your own content system. Exactly. And that's what really works. Use Facebook. They've got the audience, keep them in the loop, but you've got to build your own content elsewhere, because otherwise it's just like throwing money in the trash.
Yeah, which is like, I'm on the online space and stuff like that. So we always get hit with that, because like internet marketing and all that other stuff, we get hit with that all the time. And we've been saying like, yo, keep your, whatever you do on Facebook, make sure you have that everything backed up. Make sure whatever you have a content that's exclusive. Like we have our own website for what we do stuff, and the content that's going to be ours, that's going to be exclusive to the website, and some other stuff that we have coming down in the pipeline, as well as being able to communicate with people. Like we're big on collecting people's email addresses and text messaging so that we can message in case something happens. Because Facebook takes our page down tomorrow, well, I got an email list. I got emails that I've collected. I've had those things installed because I know this stuff happens all the time.
Right.
And it's just like, I laugh about a lot of stuff because I warn these folks. I warn a lot of creators like, hey, listen, I love what you're doing on YouTube, but you really need to build a list. You need to really have your videos backed up somewhere, because at any point in time, they can take it down for whatever reason or so. And, you really need to have this done, because last thing you want to do is wake up tomorrow morning and find out that all your hard work for the last 5-6 years is gone,
Mm-hmm.
Because that has happened to folks,
And if I can just interject one thing, I think the worst thing, honestly, is that if you build a community and then that community's work goes down because it's been archived on a platform that you have no control over, the thing is you lose community faith. So the moment that you lose community faith, then you've lost your audience. Like, you have to keep people engaged in a way that says, hey, you know what? Your content is safe with me.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to do. So, like, folks out there who are listening to us, who maybe you do have a Facebook group, please, for your sake, because anybody is susceptible to this. We got into this topic because we had me and Kente had that conversation about, when you have the words black in a group, it's sure there have been groups that have disappeared, that are gone. I've talked to people like, hey, where's your group? It's like, they have no damn clue. Like, Facebook ain't going to give them an explanation, no nothing, and they lost all that content. And there's some really good stuff in there, like list of people's and, all kinds of stuff, and it's just gone. And there's no way to recover it, because like, who the hell is keeping track of having a data list of 8,000 people in the group? No one. No one had it. So that's always been our thing about like, I'm more interested in those who want to participate in Black Nerd Swag or follow us, and I'm more interested, to be honest with you, having your email address and having your cell phone number or even your address, so I can send you stuff. Right. So that I can communicate with you. I can put blasts out, hey, this is what's happening. Because like, let's say Kente has a film coming out or something, right? And let's say Facebook don't like me this week or whatever the hell's going on. They're not going to see the post, but I know that, I can email people and I can do a text message like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. There's really dope things coming. And I can still send them the information so they can come still support. That's what I'm always thinking, because I've seen it happen. I work in that industry where I always have to if that happens, this is plan A, this is plan B, and this is plan C. And unfortunately for a lot of folks, you're not thinking that, oh, I got to worry about this. But for those of you who are really making your money like on YouTube and stuff, and to add something to Copa question, Copa's been around, was enacted by Congress in 1998. It was started to be enforced in the year 2000. So it's been with us for over 19 years, and we were all susceptible. That's why I kind of laugh that people are kind of going this far with it, because you were always susceptible to it, which is why I always emphasize, I'm like, look, if you have kids content, you have to be careful, because I knew what was going on YouTube. Anybody with half a brain who was a parent concerned knew what was going on with YouTube. Why? Because I do advertising, and one of my advertising platforms is YouTube. There was a reason why Disney was making all that damn money. There was a reason why these companies making money, because they knew that these people logging in and watching were 13 years old. They knew where their IP addresses were, therefore they can identify where they live. They can identify the incomes of the family. The children are a backdoor to find out other information for advertisers, and we had access to all of that. That's why a lot of people were selling as much toys and crap that they were selling. Now you also have some very nasty people who were in there grooming and looking for kids. And we all seen the kids who found somebody on Twitter or decided to meet somebody on YouTube, and they wind up disappearing, and some horrible things have happened to them. I mean, I remember the big Twitter, like, people forget about how many people were going on Craigslist, kids were going on Craigslist and being picked up by folks, finding people on Craigslist or finding people on Twitter. And the FBI actually has a door into Twitter, because when there was a lot of kids disappearing, they were going on Twitter and they were following book authors. And so you had these nasty adults from these sex rings following book authors of young adult fiction, and they would pretend they were kids and interacting with them on accounts and try to pinpoint where the kids were so they can have their network kind of find them and pick them up. Those are real life cases and investigations that was going on with the FBI and the NYPD a few years ago. So this stuff, I think people were like joking, oh, it's about the kids. I say, yeah, there's a lot of kids that disappear every day because of the behavior of adults and the behavior of some of these companies. So, it is what it is. For those of you who have a lot of content on there and that's how you're making your money, do what you can do in the next couple of weeks before the new year, and they start banging you out. Get you a website. If you were making money on there, you should be able to afford someone to kind of help you as much as possible. But that's what it is. There's no sense crying about the shit. You just got to adjust. Like, my whole life in marketing advertising, as Ryan knows, for himself too, is about adjusting to every little goddamn thing. So if you're going to be a creator online and make this thing work, you got to adjust. My freaking company is called Black Nurse Flag. I got to adjust all the time. So just, you can be pissed off at it, but you just got to adjust, baby. That's the way that's the way of the world.
And I have content that's specifically for the Black community. And, it's not necessarily apparent, but, I think that when we, that's the one thing about censorship is that, and I often say this, is like when people are saying, they don't want white groups to, like white nationalists to have groups on Facebook, then that applies to everybody. So, in actuality,
everybody, yeah.
So we have to be careful on the censorship lines. Like, it's very sensitive. It's just like, he can't say this, but I'm allowed to say this. And they're like, no, you guys both can't say it, and let us move on from this. And we have to be very careful. And then even the content itself, like, the content needs to be original, because we are in the Wild Wild West. But, the thing about internet is that it's data. It's sitting on a server, and the data can be scraped. So when someone wants to recoup on damages of you using their material, you using their stuff, or you saying racist stuff, or whatever it is, or even if it's deemed to be racist, if anyone wants to build a case against you, that data is open and out there and ready for the person with the wrong intentions to come after you. So you have to be very careful on how you present yourself and how you position yourself. And it's all about positioning, and it's thinking in the future and then planning backwards to know, well, you know what, this is probably going to be stuff that's probably going to get me in trouble, or this is probably stuff like using the word black is not a problem, because I think at the same time, even the word black in itself, we need to just remind people that it's not only our skin color. It's not our skin color because I'm like cinnamon brown, but it's a culture. And we remind people that, there is a collective experience that is only, that is tied to the Black community. And we should be proud of being able to represent that in our stuff. And people have said, well, you're segregating. No, we're segmenting, because this is an underserved market that, there's a lot of Black initiatives happening right now because it's just an underserved market. Because Black people, we're not a monolith, but we do have shared experience, like the comb, like the hot comb, and the way it sizzles and how it's done.
What it smells like.
But no, exactly. Yeah, what it smells like, right? And the grease and all that stuff. It's like we as Black people only know that. The rest of the people don't. So yeah, we can say we're Black, but we have to put that narrative and we have to put that in the messaging, what this represents. And for groups, it's up to the moderators to make sure that you're enforcing rules, because one bad apple, two bad apples in your group can get your whole group shut down. So you have to be really good at, identifying those, like, making sure that people are not saying hate messages like F white people and F this and F that, because you will be targeted, you will be removed.
As an Asian man, I sympathize with you Black people. So,
Yes.
so and you guys' cause and everything. So, I'm gonna give a little money to the NAACP and you guys.
Also, if I could be so bold as to say that this conversation so far, all the way up until what we've just been talking about, has been the most nerdy that I think you can possibly get into. So kudos to us for maintaining the line.
We try.
I think Lauren's nerdiness is rubbing off on me as well. Jen just, Jen's always rubbing off her nerdiness. So in a few, I'm going to be rewatching Lord of the Rings. So you can't get no nerdier than that. So
I listen. I'm so excited, Kente. I can't even tell you. I'm so excited. It's not even funny how excited I am to just hear you say that. So
like you got to be careful too, especially when it comes to some of those properties. But no.
They will come.
Oh my God, the fan bases are ridiculous.
They'll come after you.
Will you be in cosplay, Kente? It's funny. Okay. If I dress up like Freddy Krueger, am I cosplaying? Does that count?
Is it October 31st?
No. We'll say no.
And yes, you're cosplaying.
That counts.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Because that's how you can be nerdier. Oh, hilarious. So as long as it's not October 31st, if I dress up as any character, that's cosplaying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some exceptions to the rule, But
I want to be Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady, hilarious. Hilarious. I remember I did dress up as Michael Myers once, and I got like the legit mask, and most of the night at this event I had the mask, like I was holding it, because that thing is, you can't breathe in that thing. You just can't breathe in that thing. You understand why he's so upset, because that mask is like my face was melting. It was ridiculous. So
so you dressed up as William Shatner?
I dressed up as a janitor holding a Michael Myers mask. That's what it looked like. Okay, because most of the night, that's what I was doing. Was I had his head like this basically through the whole night. So, but and then other people were like, "Oh well, can I put it on?" Like, feel free. Feel free. So, but no, I don't know. Actual cosplaying is like an anime character. I wouldn't even know who the cosplay is. It's funny. I didn't think I watched anime at all, and then until one of my co-hosts, he'd have been a good person to have on the show. And I said I didn't really watch anime, and then there was a show called Robotech that I watched as a kid, and he was like, "No, that's anime. That counts as anime." So I guess I did watch anime. So I don't know if you guys remember Robotech coming up. I know Ryan's pretty young, so he doesn't know about that.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't watch like
Cosplay.
I
Did
didn't
you do
watch all that
Inuyasha?
stuff.
I want to be.
No Inuyasha?
No, I grew up playing and watching sports.
Don't shame me.
Like I like sports and girls. You know, like I
There's
wasn't into all of that.
Hey, there's a lot of sports in Inuyasha. Do you know how much sword fighting they do? I mean, that is legit a sport. So,
like, you know, that's all I knew. Like, this is all new still to me, this kind of stuff. But it's pretty cool, though. You know, it's like I definitely
They're acting too cool for school right now. You just naming stuff. You're like,
yeah, you probably watching Sailor Moon.
You know what? You know what though? Like I said, I didn't know any of this stuff. She said she's never seen Lord of the Rings, and Stephanie calls herself a nerd too. So she's never seen Lord of the Rings. So I definitely did see the Nerd of the Ring, Lord of the Rings movies. I saw the
Nerd of the Rings.
The second and third one in the theater. I saw the first one on tape or whatever it was when it came out. So
I'm embarrassed to say how many times I've seen those movies. I won't even get into it.
So,
but even with the Lord of the Rings, what do I like more? I like, now we're going to get into this, my bag on this, see The Hobbit and that whole thing. Like watching that in a living room on like a 50-inch plus TV. Oh, that shit's an experience.
Yeah, I did read that.
Surround sound.
Okay,
it's beautiful.
Our earlier conversation, just to kind of bring things back together before we say goodbye, we talked about, you know, and I'm going back to this about, do women really like nerds, right? So you are an expert. You are a bona fide expert, Lauren. You know, once you start a group called Black Nerd Swag,
here we go.
Once you start a group called Black Nerd Swag, that means that you've now anointed yourself as a nerd expert. So
when I started a company called Black Nerd Swag, now I'm an expert in all things black and nerdy.
Yes.
Or geeky or whatever the fuck you want to call
all
it.
All of that.
Oh boy.
So,
you looking for a hookup? Is this what you trying to do?
Huh? Let's say it again.
Are you looking for a hookup? Is this what this is about?
No, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help brothers out. Okay, so like, you know, there's a lot of brothers I've come across.
And water.
Huh?
Smelling good.
What? Wait, I'm sorry, I missed you. What'd you say?
Soap and water. If you have long nails, clip them.
Okay.
I said soap and water, and if you have very long nails, clip them, because women look at that and they're thinking about the things she would like you to do. So cleanliness and smelling good.
Okay.
Listen, I've been to many conventions and like, oof, smell some dudes. I'm like, nah, baby.
Okay, so hygiene. Okay. What else? What about
hygiene?
Because you're
diversity, diversity in conversation, right? This goes back to that whole niche thing, right? You can only speak about Star Wars, and that's all you can speak about. Oh, that's probably not going to work out for most women that I know.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a conversation starter, right? But then you don't want to keep on, because it's like, hey, I'm in marketing too. Oh, but if you're talking about marketing all night, like I've cheesed some women off for just getting on the car, like women will approach me because of my herbs, and like, cause I like herbs and I'm into like, you know, healthy eating and vegan. They'll be like, can you send me some recipes? I'll be like, yeah, this is recipes. And then I get on the phone and we start talking. And then I'm like, yeah, so then you want to take the sea moss and then, you know, and make sure when you take the sea moss that you mix it in with some bladder wax, and then the ions connect and they bond. Did you look at the periodic table? I do that all the time. And I don't.
I
do it all the time.
Ryan, I can't imagine why that doesn't work.
Go too deep.
Yeah. So I go a little like, so tell me about yourself. And like, you know, so yeah, you can.
Oh yeah, like don't always like hog her ear. I will say that, like, there was, what was I was at a New York Comic Con. They were having a thing, and the girl who I knew really liked him. I knew it was. So it finally got into a conversation. She really, really liked him, and he was in. Like he could have just. It would have been so damn simple. And bro, they got into a conversation about what was it? Was it the freaking Walking Dead? It might have been the Walking Dead. It was some TV show, and she's into it. She watches it, but he kept going on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
One of our fans, Jen.
This conversation's going on 2 hours now. He could not fucking stop talking about the Walking Dead, and she was just getting tired. Like he just like wore her out. She was like, okay.
All right. So all right, let's do this. Are you okay with a little role play, Lauren?
A little role play.
Yeah.
Oh,
wait, okay. Wait, pause.
Because you know there's different kind of role play up there.
Pause. I mean, like role play. Okay, so we're gonna help the young man who goes to the Comic-Con.
You know, we need another episode where we get some guys on here and then we just go and we just start helping them.
Oh, we'll do that. We'll do that. This is the first part. So okay, so Ryan is a guy who's at a Comic-Con and he sees Jen and he wants to spit some game. So okay, so help Ryan out with his approach first. We'll start with the approach. Right. You're going to take her advice and use it on Jen, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, it depends on where he sees her at the Comic-Con if he's going to approach her. Usually y'all gotta help Ryan. Jesus. It depends on where you see it. I find that especially when you're talking about the vote seats or whatever, some of them tend to be very introverted. So, but at Comic-Con, people tend to be a little bit more open and a little bit more polite. So he has a really good chance because in this setting. So the odds are in his favor, most likely. In this setting, if he can play himself right. That's right. Put the damn glasses on. Now, outside that Comic-Con tomorrow, no. But so today, he got a really
what's a good opening line that he should use with Jen?
Well, it depends on where he sees it. Like one thing
Let's say this is the Witcher.
I got an opening line.
What?
I got to hear this one.
What's up, girl? You like Naruto? Do you like ramen noodles?
I was just gonna say, if you're heading into The Witcher, right, and you're gonna sit down and listen to a panel, last thing that you should do is walk up to a girl and go, "Hey, have you ever heard of 5 centimeters per second?" Because nobody's going into The Witcher. I mean, I shouldn't even say it that way. That's terrible. But honestly, context matters.
Okay, that's a Witcher thing.
Y'all probably don't even know what 5 centimeters per second is, and I'm sorry.
It must be a Witcher.
It's an anime reference.
Oh, okay. See. Okay,
so anime. I mean, it's super famous.
Like if you're in a line, like let's say a scenario where I've gotten into conversation with people online. So if you're in a line trying to get into a panel, let's say the panel is The Witcher. So The Witcher, of course, is a TV show, or that might be on Netflix now or not. I forgot.
Right.
But also the video game, and a lot of people are. So a lot of people are familiar with The Witcher through the video game. So if you're trying to talk to her in a Witcher panel for Netflix or something, you might introduce like, "Hi, are you?" You might want to start out, "Hey, talking about, hey, are you? Was it the Netflix?" You might want to start talking about the actual panel that like the video game. Maybe you were like, "Hey, how did you get into The Witcher? Was it the video game? Was it a book you read, or did you just, or are you waiting to watch the, Netflix TV, or maybe you're just a fan of whatever the guy's name is, Henry Chevelle, whatever his name is." And started engaging her in that type of conversation and shutting up and fucking listening. Like a chance to actually enter it.
So you dip your toe in the pond and then just kind of let it marinate there.
No, these are conversation starters, right? Like they are fact finding questions. You're just like, or not fact finding. You're just having general conversations. That's small talk.
Yeah, small talk.
You got to get it psychologically. You got to talk about other things. You got to make her laugh. You got to do all kinds of stuff, but you have to take it away from the conversation starts, because we're lifestyle creatures. Like even when you look at a clothing department. Women got clothes everywhere, and they know where to shop. They go into the store and they just like pulling off the racks. Men, we need like if we're looking for golfing clothes, golfing has to be all in one department. We got golfing clubs, we got golfing pants, we got golfing shoes, because it has to be organized. Women don't care. So like I say that all to say is that when you talk like men are about that life. So we will carry on because a woman's like, oh yeah, tell me a little bit more about your golfing. She's just doing that because she want to talk to you. You just have to know to clue in to ask her about herself, ask her about other things, ask her about, where did she go to school and why did she go there, and get the conversation where she's laughing and stuff like that, and ask her out.
Okay, so what's
knowing when to shut the fuck up?
What is
that
the
has killed so many relationships.
yeah, I've seen that quite a bit. Okay, so what's the absolute no in your approach besides hygiene?
Don't touch people without asking them first. I hate that. Oh my God. I've been to so many conventions where people just come up to you and they just like put their hands on you. And I mean, I know it's innocuous, but it's so off-putting. You can't ask me a question, well, you've got your hands on my shoulder. Oh God, that's so awful.
So no grabbing. Dang,
I
gotta
probably
change.
those dudes smell like BO and stuff. I can imagine wearing that cosplay and
dang, I gotta change. I gotta change my whole approach. So no more just grabbing women. Okay, darn it.
Yeah, you can't just be like, oh, hi. Like no.
No, you can't just grab them.
I mean, if we're going to be stereotypical about nerds, we just know that. Let's look at personality types. A lot of nerds are kind of like, or at least I can speak for myself, is we're introverts, and it takes us a little, like a few seconds to kind of warm up to you. So sometimes the girl's looking at you and you think, no, she's trying to process what's actually happening. So the more you give her the process, like if you stink real quick, or if you just holding her and she doesn't know you from Adam, and it's not like you're trying to save her from something really quickly or anything like that. She's trying to process what the hell is going on right now. So like a lot of times, if you just give a few seconds for that other person, especially if she's probably more of that introverted nerd, and you're having a conversation and you're trying to engage her, she'll start to warm up to you.
That's right.
But you got to give it a chance. The more you give her a fuck shit to give her to be processing, like, hold on, why is he touching me? What's that smell coming from? Why wasn't he shut up? The less chance you got.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Okay, all right. So hopefully, we're gonna have to do a show with some nerdy men and women and see how that goes off. That's gonna be actually a lot of fun, I think. And
also, Ryan's
we need some men to come up here.
Ryan's totally right. If you can make somebody laugh, it's such an instant ice in. I mean, I'm not saying go, practice comedy routine before you start talking to people, but there is something about pulling people off guard with laughter that is really, really good.
Let me warm up, cheese.
Let me warm up. I'm telling you, like most women, especially in sort of, we're talking about nerds, they're more introverted. So it takes a few seconds, maybe a couple minutes for them to warm up to you. And then you'll be more receptive. But some guys in that space are just so self-conscious and scared. They're looking at her like, oh, she's trying to be malicious. Oh, I'm doing it. No, she's really trying to process what the hell's going on. Just give her a second, because she doesn't know you from Adam. Like the way I react to people when I know you is very different than when I don't know you.
Maybe you should,
especially if you're approaching me first. So you have to give me a few minutes to like, okay, this is what's going on, and then I can work.
Maybe you should offer a service where you'll be like in the earpiece, and you'll just be guiding the nerd. Like
the modern day version of Cyrano de Bergerac.
Be like, that'd be fun.
I'll be the intro. You pay me enough. We make this work. I'll be like, before you see me, do you smell good? Okay, cool.
I think as a fellow nerd, I would say to dudes that don't, just because she's interested in you, don't imagine her as your wife, and You know what I mean? Because that's the first thing. Like when a woman is interested in us, we're already thinking about next steps. We're like, she's gonna be my girlfriend. She's gonna be my wife. She's gonna
God.
be my everything because she's so beautiful. Men, we have to stop placing so much value on someone we don't know. So like, take it a step
You need
back.
to say that louder because there's some Star Wars guys on Twitter right now. Knows.
Just because she's interested in you doesn't mean she like you. It doesn't mean she want to see you, like, 400 times, right? Like, you just take a step back. Don't place too much value. Remain cool. Like
this is where women who like me, who aren't super pretty, this is where we shine, right? Because we're not super attractive, so we don't end up with the sort of guys that just come up out of nowhere because, oh my god. But there is definitely that sense of the moment that somebody approaches you to talk to you, and you know what, you got it exactly right. The introvert, the nerd culture tends to breed introverts. I don't know how else to describe it. And the moment that you break through that and you get somebody's attention, if you've got their attention, do something with it, right? Because sometimes it takes people a long time to process that through. And if you've got it, that's half the battle. But instead, most people are kind of like Ryan. You're right. Where it's just, go after the super attractive people, and then you're already planning 15 steps down the road. And yeah.
She ain't even there yet. She's not even there yet. She's trying to say I'm your serial killer or not. She ain't there yet.
Well, I mean, serial killers need love.
Hey,
Yeah.
Still it off.
All right.
Still
So,
it off.
So, speaking of nerdy, this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern, we will be doing a Star Wars Episode 9 preview show. And Lauren is going to come back for that as well. So thank you so much. We have a wonderful panel, and Yardley's going to be there. And my friend Chris Gray is supposed to be coming through from Total Nerd Takeover. And Tom Carter is going to be joining us as well, all the way from England. And we're going to be talking about what we want out of Episode 9, as well as talk a little Mandalorian. We're not going to review it or anything, just kind of where we think the whole Star Wars franchise should be at, where it's at, and what the future looks like. So it should be a very fun episode. So we're going to get nerdy again. And that should be a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody that listened, of course, and our guest, Lauren. So, Lauren, how can people get you on social media? Once again, tell us about the event next week and how we can participate.
Okay, so the event is a virtual Pop Summit. For more information that will be going out, you're going to go to our Facebook page, Black Nerd Swag. Go on either directly go to our messenger and say hi to it. It's going to ask you for your email and your phone number. And because we're going to be pushing out through that way heavily. So make sure you do that. So go to our Facebook page, Black Nerd Swag, start talking to our messenger bot and give it the information that it needs. And you'll start getting information about how you can get your tickets and everything else until the official post goes up that's lawyer approved. If you want to find us elsewhere on social, we have a Twitter account. So Black Nerd Swag. Beware of our talking box on that Twitter account. We are ready for the smoke. So we have dished it out on Facebook as well as on Twitter. So come stupid, we will get stupider. And still be all compliant with community standards.
Hilarious.
We're very good at that. So make sure you go to Facebook page, talk to our messenger bot, give us the email and cell phone number so that we can start pushing that stuff out to you, because that's how we sell it primarily. Also, when you get that information, invite your friends over to Black Nerd Swag to do the same thing. The more folks we have on it, the more successful, the more folks I can convince, because there's some folks who said fucking no because our name isn't Marvel. But that's okay, because we're going to have some Marvel people up on there on the next one. So make sure you support us. It helps us get more guests. And also, especially if you're an artist, there is going to be a section where I'm talking about business and marketing. on that side for the summer. I mean, so sorry for the summit. So if you have a business in the space and you're trying to figure out how to ways of monetizing, or like the conversation we had about moving your data from, not only having it on Facebook, but having stuff that maybe is more exclusive to your personal stuff. We're going to dig into that, because that's becoming more and more important, especially if you have YouTube channels. So check us out on Facebook, Black Nerd Swag. Talk to our Messenger bot. Hand us your information, and we can start pushing that stuff out to you. Also, follow us on Twitter, Black Nerd Swag. Say what's up when you follow us, so we can say what's up back. All right.
All right. Jen, how can we get you in social media and all that stuff?
You can find me on Following Bliss. You can find me on Twitter at Following Bliss 1. And you can visit my websites at moviesmakethemeal.com, getting ready for Christmas, and criticallaughs.com.
All right. Critical Laughs. You can get me at Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson on Instagram. And of course, the website is indyradio.org. That's indyradio.org. Once again, join us this Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we will be talking all Star Wars. With that said, you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. God bless you, and peace.